Hi everybody, Chris Feehan from the ECG Armory again. Today we're going to be doing the knee plate and the ammo box on the legs. You really have to do this part before you start working on the backs of these. I want to make sure they're in place and they're secure before I go ahead and start working on the backs. Because these pieces do have to be, this one has to be glued in place and this one has to be riveted in place with split rivets. So I want to make sure I get them right. What I have here as an example is my TK armor, and basically on the left leg you have to attach this sniper plate onto the shin, and I want to make sure I get it exactly the same dimensions, about the same placement on both the Shadow Trooper and on my original TK. So I'm just using this as kind of a reference. This is what it should look like when it's all done. It should be glued from the back in place with just some E6000 glue. What I like to do is glue the middle, clamp it, and I'll leave it for a few days, and then I'll glue the sides. But the most important thing is shaping it and make sure I cut it in the right places. And as you can see, I did trim this out a little more from the last time when we initially trimmed it. I trimmed the curve here on the sides. I left a little bit of a return edge and a curve here on this side. What I need to do is find the exact placement, which I already marked with a pencil, which should be about here so it lays flat. And then I have to figure out where to stop it on the side. And I already made a pencil mark, but it appears to be right about there. So I'm going to cut this and sand this down a little more. And then I'm going to do the same on the other side. Trim this right about here so it's in line with the bend that's on the shin itself right here. So I'm going to cut this, sand it down a little bit, and clamp this and glue this on. And then we'll move on to the ammo box. So let me see exactly where I got to cut it. Make sure I make a visible pencil line, and then we'll go ahead with the cutting and then placement from there. So you can see here it kind of lines up with where that line is, and I want to make sure that this will stretch and stick to here and kind of mimic that curve that comes up here. So it's about here, a little more, a little further back. So I'm going to cut that there, and let me check the other side. The other side seems to also be in about the same spot. Let me make sure I leave this right in place. These two little parts here have to be lined up directly in the middle here, so I'm going to make sure that that's in the middle. And I'm going to come here and I'm going to see where this line is. And I see they did it right up into the line, so I'm going to try to do the same thing. I'm going to go like right about here. I'm going to cut this right about there. I'm going to cut that off so that it glues nicely right into that line there. Now for this I'll probably just use the scissors, and then I'll go back and go over it with some sandpaper to make sure that we get it just right. Now there is a little curve there as well, so I'm going to curve it a little and then cut straight down. And then I'm going to do the same on the other side to match that line. Let me see if I can find the line here. And again, I'm going to leave a little extra because I'm going to sand it a little bit. I'm going to just snip that a little because I'm going to try to curve that a little bit on the corners. And again, I'm using my towel here because I don't want to scratch the parts. I kind of do that when I'm getting to the final stages. I'm use my curved scissors here, make a little curve here. And that's pretty good. And this already has kind of a curve here. So now I'm just going to use my sandpaper. Sand this down. It's got a nice edge there. I already sanded the rest of the part all the way around. Okay, that looks real nice on that side. Let me make this side, get rid of those scissor marks. And for this, I'm probably not going to need magnets, just the giant clamp And I've already left just a very, very minor return edge here because you do want this to sit flush. I've also pre-sanded the back here. I had sanded this part down a little bit on the back. It helps the glue stick a little better and helps it get a little better seal. So that's going to help us when we get to that part and we actually glue this on. So now I made a pencil line there of where this is going to sit. I just want to line it up and see. And that sits very flush on the strap, on the cover strip. So that's exactly where I want to place this. But again, I'm not going to glue these parts yet. Well, maybe I will. I'll see. I like to get this in place, have this really secure, and then I can manipulate this, use the heat gun a little if I have to bend it. But right now we got a very good seal here, so I'm just going to be able to lift these up gently, put some glue behind there, and secure them on the sides. So I'm going to just concentrate on the middle right now and glue that middle area. So let me just see from where the line is. I'm going to put just a big glob of glue all the way up here, and then I'm going to clamp it. For this, I don't even know if I don't even think I'll need the tip, because really this is just a glob of glue that I'm going to be clamping and then putting it aside now that I got the shape correct. Put on my gloves. And I'm just going to glob the glue on there. Try to spread it around as best I can. Just going to put nice, generous helping all around this top part here. I'm going to try to spread it around a little bit. This will really help with keeping it in place. And this glue dries really well and dries almost like rubber cement. So I am using a very generous portion here because this is a critical joint. And if I can get the middle really good, then the sides should be easy and they should stay. Okay, so that should be good. Let me get this part lined up. I'm just going to start working that around a little bit, and that's looking very good. I just want to make sure I got the angle right, straight across and straight up and down, really just butting up against there. I'm going to get a big clamp on here, and I might be able to do some manipulation later. And I want to get another clamp, if I can, another giant one, a little further down if I can, so that it's joining the entire way down, right at the tip here. Let's see if I can get that in there. Make sure that's nice and straight. It's lining up with the curve on the side here, which it is. It's lining up with the line here on this side, and it is. And basically we're just going to set this and leave it. We're going to make sure that this is in place, and then I'm just going to put a little extra glue on the sides after this is all dry. So I'm going to leave it laying face down. Actually, no, maybe I'll do it this way. I'll lay it this way and let the glue just settle. And I'm going to let that dry literally for a couple of days. It's going to be drying for probably 2 or 3 days, so I'm just going to leave it go. Okay, so I'm going to leave that. And now the next part we want to do is the leg. The upper thigh, and we want to make sure that we do this on the right leg. That was the left shin, but the right thigh has this ammo box on it, and it's connected with two split rivets that you connect on the sides. Now this one can be tricky. This one I messed up a little bit, but I managed to fix it with some ABS patching stuff. I used a little bit of a heat gun to make it join a little better. You want to keep it really tight, but it's kind of difficult because it does move around a little bit. So we want to make sure we got the right leg here. We'll make sure that's the right leg, that's the right leg. And this is our uncut ammo box piece here. As I mentioned, when I trimmed it, I left these pieces here because you don't know exactly where it's going to hit and where you're going to need to line it up. So I'm going to make a pencil mark and figure out exactly where this is going to line up. Now you put that middle box butted up right against the cover strip. So I'm going to get the middle box. I'm going to see which side looks nicer, which top looks nicer. I think that one does. I'm going to line that up, and then I'm just going to curve this around and see where it lands on the side. So I'm going to just go like this, curve that around, and you can see that one side is going to be shorter than the other. Like this side is only like 2 or 3 inches, so I'm going to do the same on this one here. Okay, this is connected to the top there, and this is connected to the top here. So let's just see how this is going to lay out. If I put this right like this and I stretch this around, this is going to land about here on this side. That looks a little too long, but that's where it seems to land. And on this side, let me see where this one lands. That's going to be way back. This is going to be a much longer side, I think. Okay, so this one, let's look at it from the top view. Okay, so this one is a little different than the one I have. This one should go all the way back to the back there. And put a rivet somewhere around here. So I'm only going to have to trim off on one side about 1/4 inch. The other side might be more. Let me see where the other one's going to end up landing. Okay, the other thing I forgot to do is I really should clamp the back because we got to do this assuming the back is closed. So let me just clamp the back here, just so we get an accurate reading. Because we have not closed the back yet, so I want to get it as accurate as possible as if the back is closed, because that's going to be a major determining factor here on how this is going to land. Put a clamp on the bottom. Hopefully that'll hold. Get another clamp on the top here. If I have to, I'll put a rubber band around it too to keep it. But let's just take a look. So that's where it should look. Okay, we put that directly in the middle, bend that around. Kind of a wacky angle, but let's see where it lands. Luckily this is pretty flexible. And this one should land about here. Okay, so this one's going to be there, that one's going to be there. So I'm going to have to mark that. Let me shift it a little bit, make sure I'm getting it accurate. Okay, so we got to take about 1/4 inch off of here. And we got to take a few inches, you can see, off of there, because it's going to have to land right on that corner. And this one's going to land somewhere in the middle here. Okay, so let me get my pencil. I'll keep holding this in place. I'm just going to make a rough line where that cutoff point is. And I'm going to keep it held in place, stretching it as tightly as I can. And then we see that it's going to be somewhere around here. So let me just hold that. Make sure I'm holding that in place, holding that in place. I might just guesstimate this and say about there. I'm going to take a little off both sides, and then we're going to curve the bottom, and I'll do that with the curved scissors, and probably use this pipe as a curve. This is our thermal detonator. I'm just going to go like this, and what you see here, there's a curve on the end. So we're going to cut it. We're going to put a curve on the end. I'm going to use this as a basis for the curve. And we're going to curve both ends. Okay, so that's taking shape now. Let me put this back. Okay, for this I'm going to use my safety gloves and just use a razor blade. I'm just putting them right over my other gloves. And let me get my ruler as well, just to make a nice straight line here. Okay, so I'm just cutting that there. Should be able to snap it off. Let's see. There we go. Now that curve is going to be tough, but let me see if I can do it freehand with the razor blade. Actually, I'm going to use the curved scissors. I have much better luck with curved scissors. And then we'll do a little sandpapering. To sand that down and make that smoother. Okay, let's do this side here. Make sure we get it nice and straight. Just cutting that straight down. Snap that off. And then we're going to just cut that curve. And make sure the curve is on the same side on both sides here. Okay, there we go. We got a nice curve there. Take off a little more. I might use the other side of the scissors here. Just make that a little better transition. There we go. Get these pieces out of here. And I'll use the sandpaper. Just to kind of smooth that out a little bit. I'm going to go down the whole thing as well. Just to make sure we get it all nice and smooth. Okay, that's looking really good. Maybe curve this a little more transition here into the curve. That looks really nice. And then this one's looking really good, so we're just going to leave that one. Okay, let me get this just again as our reference. we want to make sure that we're getting this one about in the same spot on that side. Let's see. Actually, I think this could be a lot shorter. It doesn't need to be this long. I think I might have not needed to do that. Let me see. This side looks good. Let me just see. I want this to be right about there. I want this to stop right before the final curve there. Okay. I think we'll start with this side and try to find where we're going to put the hole. I think actually this side we can make a lot shorter, but I'll deal with that when we get to it. Let me take a look. I think this side would be way too long. This side I could actually cut down. I could actually stop it at this first curve. Somewhere in the middle there, but let me see where it lands exactly. Now for this one I think I do need it there. I think these are just slightly different shaped ammo boxes. On these ammo boxes they're a lot closer together. These ammo boxes are a lot further apart. Yep. So I am going to need more to hit the same spot over here on this one. Even though it doesn't look right, it doesn't look like it's the same length. The ammo boxes on this kit, this is an Anavos kit. This is a Waltz Trooper Factory. You can see the boxes are much smaller, so I am going to have to keep this longer to get it to hit the same spot on the ridge on the back of the leg, which is this ridge right here. So just a little difference in armor. You might see that from time to time, slight differences between different armor makers. And in this case, it's quite dramatic, actually. Okay, so I'm going to just hold that with my finger as I go like this, and I'm going to see where that lands. And that's where I'm going to have to put the rivet. It's somewhere over in that area, but I've got to keep this stable. Hold on. Keep that right in the middle. Keep this nice and taut. It's going to be right about there. And then this one is going to end up right in that corner over here. Okay, so I think I'm going to do this one first. And I got to get just the right spot to get it. I'm going to drill it and then put a rivet in there. And then once I do that one, the other one should be wherever it happens to land is where I'm going to make the hole. Because that's the inside, so I'm not so concerned if it lines up perfectly. This one I want it to line up perfectly, or as close to it as possible. Okay, so I'm going to put it right about here. And again, this can swing a little bit, this can move a little bit, but we want it to be right about here. Let me get a pencil and make sure I got that lined up. And then I'm going to put a pencil line exactly where this one lines up. If I could find my pencil. There it is. Okay, so that meets right in the middle. In order for that to happen, the hole would have to be right about here. Okay, so I just made a line where I got to keep the plastic. And we could also use some glue to reinforce that, which I may do. We might use a heat gun to push this down to make it even, but basically the key is we got to drill this in. That's the only way we're going to be in business. Let me get my drill ready. I'm going to drill right through both of them here. I'm going to try to get right in the middle of the ridge there. Yeah, I did. Okay. Get that off, and let me do the hole through the rest of this piece here. I wanted to get a little more in the middle, but that's pretty close. I'm going to go over just a teeny bit. Going to make this hole a little bigger. Okay. Now let's get our rivets ready. And I'm not going to actually hammer it home yet. I'm just going to stick it in place and see where we stand. Let me take off my gloves to do this part. Now these are the special split rivets. You can get these from trooperbay.com. There's also some other sellers that sell it, but he sells ones that are exactly the same as the ones in the movie. Let me get 2 of them ready. And you need a split rivet and a washer to keep it in place. Now these split rivets come in silver. You do have to paint them. We'll do all that after when we're doing our finishing work. But you basically use 2 split rivets to hold this, one on each side. And let me just make sure that fits. Might be too small of a hole initially. Let me see if I could squeeze that in there. I might have to widen the hole a little bit. Let me get my pliers and just bend that a little bit so I can see if I can get it through the hole appropriately. Yeah, I'm going to have to make that hole a teeny bit bigger. But that should be no problem. Let me widen this a little. Let me get this out of the way as well. You don't want to go too far. You want to keep it so that it's pretty tight in there. Okay, there we go. So we get it through there. Okay, so that's the first rivet. Now I'm not actually doing it yet. I might just bend it a little bit with a screwdriver just to keep it in place. You got to put the washer on as well. Get that in there. Get any plastic out of the way and then have the washer sit flush. And then I'm going to bend it open a little bit with the screwdriver. Still some plastic around it. Let me just scrape that off. Put the washer on there. Now to send this home, you really have to split it with a screwdriver. And then hammer it down with a hammer, which we will do, but I'm just going to bend it a little bit to get it started so the washer stays on and it's still kind of malleable and it won't pop off. Hopefully that'll hold as we do the final setup here. Now again, I'm going to try to keep this in place like this so that I kind of get an idea of what it's going to look like when it's closed. It keeps popping out, unfortunately. Let's see if this will hold. It's slipping. Let me try this one. You want to kind of keep that just so you kind of get an idea of where it's going to land. Okay, so now I'm just going to pull this around. That looks really good. It's right in the middle. And then we're going to pull this around here and see where it's going to land over here and then start drilling into that side. I'm pulling this tight. Now that popped open, but that's okay. We got it where we want it, pretty much. But again, I want to see where it's going to land while this is closed. That keeps popping open. It's going to be a problem. I would guesstimate about here. Let me, again, get this closed so I get an idea of what it looks like when it's closed. Because it's much harder to do the split rivets if you can't open up the back here. Okay, so that's looking really good. Ugh, keeps popping open, but I think right about here is good. I'm going to pull it tight. I'm sure once we got this on here, it's going to be good. Hold that in place. One more time. Let's try to get this to stay for a second. Just so I can make sure that that is nice and tight. That looks good. And I'm going to put it right in the middle here. Okay. So now we got a mark there. I'm going to just continue that. Okay, we got to widen this hole a little bit. Should be good. Do have a little separating going on here. I'm going to have to correct that. I might use some CA glue to do a temporary fix right now, because this middle section came open a little bit. Let me just do that quick. I don't like to use this, but this part's going to be hidden anyway, so I'm just going to quickly do a quick repair. This part started separating a little bit. I'm just going to put a little glue here with my CA glue and then use the kicker to make it stay. Because I want that to be in place, and I won't be able to get to that once I put this ammo box on there. And again, I was using E6000 glue because I don't like to use this. It can cause some heat damage. Sometimes it heats up very quickly, and it also leaves some white residue. But since this is behind the ammo box, I'm not as concerned. I just want to get this fixed quickly while I got this out. So I'm just going to put that in there. And I'm going to use the kicker to kick it. And again, nobody's going to see this because this is behind the ammo box anyway. Okay, now this is the magic of the CA glue. I'm going to use the kicker here. Let me wipe off any excess. And that's going to seal it up almost instantly. I'll put a clamp on it just to make sure. And then I'll wipe off all this excess. should be good. That's the magic of CA glue. It like binds almost instantly. Because that was separating a little bit and I want to keep that down. And I wouldn't be able to get to that easily once I put the ammo box over it. Again, you're not going to see that part anyway, so I'm not that concerned. Okay, let me put away my glue. I'm going to leave this out. And it's a very quick, desperate repair there, but I think we got it. So let me get the other split rivet. And my washer. I'm going to tighten it a little bit, just a little bit, just to get it through the hole a little easier. I think I'm going to make the hole a little bit bigger. It's not sitting flush. Let's widen that hole a teeny bit more. Get any plastic behind here as well. Okay, let's try that again. Okay, that sits nice and flush now. Get it through the hole over here, and it's going to sit very nicely right in the middle. And when this is closed up like this, it's going to tighten. And I might even put a little glue right behind the middle just to fasten it to that area. Sometimes I use Velcro as well, just in that middle section to stop it from moving. But I'm going to stick this in. Let me wipe off some of this extra kicker here and get our split rivet in here with our washer. Now you can see the washer is in there. With the split rivet. And then I'm going to use a screwdriver here to widen that out a little bit. Make sure I get it in the hole. Help if I can get it in the hole. Okay, and I got to hold that tight as I get my screwdriver over here. Now with the screwdriver, I'm just kind of gently pushing down, trying to widen that area. I don't know if you can see it on camera here. I'm just trying to put it in there and twist and kind of bend it out a little. And when you're ready, when you're totally ready, you're going to pound that in with a hammer. And I have a little hammer I use for that. And I'll see if I have a tool that would be good to use to do that. Okay, so I'm going to gently take away this, just in this one spot right where the rivet is. I can really pound away at this. I'm going to take this off. And what I'm doing is just pounding on the ends of the split rivet to get it to lay flat against the washer. You got to be very careful with this. Trying not to scratch anything as I'm doing this as well. So that looks very nice. And if you can see, I flattened out the rivet both ways so that now it's flush with the washer, and that's not going anywhere. That's not going to come out. I'm going to do the same on the other side very carefully. Again, you want to do this on a hard surface so you can send it all the way home. I'm going to start it with this, and then I'm going to use the screwdriver at the end to actually send it all the way home. So what I do then is take the screwdriver, put it right in between the two pieces, and try to pound straight down to get them to split. And they're splitting pretty nicely here. But you got to do it with the head flush against a hard surface. So you got to make sure that the head is down on a hard surface, or this does not work. I'm just trying to get that right in position. I'm getting there. One side almost flat. Got to do the other side now. And again, I got to make sure it's on the table on very, very hard surface. This doesn't work very well. And now again, you see why I didn't close the back of the leg. If the back of the leg was closed, this would be much harder to do. You wouldn't be able to get the angles you need. Okay, that looks very nice. Okay, so that's in there really good. Again, there is going to be some movement here. Again, I can put some Velcro behind there. Once I close the back of the legs, I'll know exactly where it lines up. But now I got the ammo piece on there. Again, when the leg is closed up, it's going to look more like this. And it looks very similar to the one for the Stormtrooper. Again, this looks a little wider right now, again, because I don't have the back closed. Once I close the back, which when I take off a little more material, it's going to be about like that. It will look, let me see if I can hold it in position. It will look more like this, like you can see there. And then you have the ammo pack there. And again, you can see this ammo pack is a little different than this one. It's just different kits. Sometimes have slightly different ammo packs. But there you go. That's how you do the ammo pack. Now we have some time. I'll see what else I can get done at the moment. One of the other things I did want to tackle was the shoulder straps. And maybe we'll quickly do the shoulder straps and see if we can do some curving of the shoulder straps. To get them to the right position. And I brought another one down here to show you what the intended shoulder strap should look like. This is one from another shadow kit that I had that I had gotten from another member, just as an example, and to kind of show you the difference between when they're flat and when they're curved. Now these are the ones I cut last time, and I trimmed them, I shaved them down, I did some sanding, so these are in a pretty finished state. However, they're flat. They have to be curved. You can't just bend them. If you bend them, you could get stress marks. You could get a lot of other problems. What you want to do is use a heat gun and try to curve them to get this kind of 45-degree angle here, this nice curvature. And you want it to stay in the material. So I'm going to use the heat gun today, and I'm going to figure out what attachment might be best. I might just use it straight with no attachment, just the blower attachment that I have on there right now. Or maybe, you know, I'm going to use there's a flatter attachment that spreads out the heat a little more. I think I'm going to use that one. There are a number of attachments. Last time, you might have seen me using this one. I like to use this one when I'm going in a part, just to heat up the inside of a part, because it kind of gives you access. This is the one that's more of like a spreader. It just spreads the heat around in a line, and that's kind of what we want for this, so I'm going to use that attachment. Now for this I am going to use my safety gloves because this can get extremely hot, and you want to be very careful when using the heat gun, because if you do it too much you're going to get some searing, you're going to get some bubbling in the plastic. You don't want that. It's a very, very uncertain process, and I don't like using it, but it is the best option for making sure you get some plastic pieces shaped the way you need them. So let me put the attachment on. I'm going to do it face up like that. Let me just get it plugged in. I'm going to get going here. Make sure that's on correctly. It looks like it's a little loose. Hold on. Okay, there we go. I'm doing it from the bottom side because I don't want to accidentally sear the top half. Let me get this out of the way and this out of the way so I don't accidentally melt them. I'm just doing this to see when it starts giving, and then I'm going to take it in my hands and try to get the curvature just right. Trying to get it evenly heated here. Just going to lay that down. I think we're getting there. Just gently curving it with my hands, just forming it. You could also do this over like a glass bottle or a can. I'm just doing it by hand and by eye here. Okay, so now you see it's starting to get that curvature. We're going to have to do it a few more times and get it just right. I'm just getting into that curvature. Hopefully it's nice and even. Almost there. That's looking very good. It's very close. A little uneven in one spot, so I'm going to have to do a little more shaping down here and up at the top. Just curve that a little more, make sure it's nice and straight. This side's a little misshapen, but it's okay. Again, you got to be very careful with this. A little too much and you can scorch it, and you don't want to have that happen. Just letting it cool as I'm keeping it in that shape. And I think we're in business with this one. This one's very close, if not perfect. That little off there, but that's fine. I could always just manipulate that a little bit with my hands. Use that as the back one. Actually, let me heat that up a little and fix that. That's a little off. There we go. That looks much better. Okay, so that's our first one. You can see it's about the same curvature as that one. And we're going to do the same thing with this one. So I'm going to just try to bend that as it's still warm. Try to get that nice curvature with my hands. Getting there. This one too is this corner here again. Got a little straighten that out a little. Okay. And this one needs a little more in the top half, so I'm just going to do the top half. I'm keeping that between my hands, just trying to keep that curve, putting a little pressure as it cools off. Okay, it's looking pretty good. I got a little more of a curve there needed. Try to straighten it out a little. Just trying to keep that nice curve there. This one little spot is not curving as much. I have to heat that up a little more. It's looking pretty good. It's a little, not even, I'm going to have to work this area a little more. There we go, that's looking a lot better now. Trying to keep to that nice curve. And once it cools, it stays in that position, it retains that form. Again, you have to make sure you don't heat it up too much. You don't want to scorch it. You don't want to melt it. You don't want to deform it. And there's a very fine line between getting it to a malleable position and actually deforming it. So you want to keep it right at that threshold, which is difficult. Okay, that looks really good. So we got our two curves here. This one little corner I want to fix. It's a little misshapen. That was the one that was on the table. I just hit that one little area. Bend that up a little bit. Again, I don't want to scorch it, so I'm going to just be careful. See, now I'm getting a little too scorched there, so I want to be very careful what I do here. I'm going to get that little crease out of there. Okay, that looks much better. Much more straight. And once it cools again, it will retain that position. So I think I'm going to use these two as the fronts, those two as the backs, which is perfect. And these will be glued to the front chest piece. This could actually use a little sanding. So this will be glued to the front chest piece, and these will be the two shoulder straps that go to the back. And this is another one from an Anavos kit that was pre-bent. Okay, well that's all I have for today. I might go ahead and do some other trimming and some other minor things while I'm here. And if I do, I'll add them as a speed up video. I do have to drill the holes for the thermal detonator to put the clamps on, and a few other minor tasks, and I'll probably do those and just use that as a speed up video because that doesn't require much explanation. But thanks everybody for joining us at the ECG Armory, and hopefully next time I'll finish up the legs and then move on to the main body, and after that we just have to start the assembly and the strapping, which will be very exciting. So thanks everybody for stopping by, and I'll see you next time.